Today we're going to cover the last little bit of information about your major essay. As a typical day, I'm going to talk here for a few minutes at the beginning. You're going to have most of the day to workshop your essay, improve it, find quotes, and so on, and make sure you keep a record of what you do on your signing sheet at the end, as your signing sheet, along with your outline, are some of the things that I use for evidence in terms of your writing process. Now, because I'm not present today and therefore unable to give you any feedback, I want to change the schedule a little bit. So I had originally had the essay being due on the Monday. I'm going to change so that the essay is now due at the end of the day on Tuesday. Okay, so this means if it comes in Tuesday night at whatever time, it is fine. Wednesday will be late, but anytime Tuesday is acceptable. Okay, and this is to make use of the fact that we'll have a couple more last periods for feedback. Please do not ask me for feedback on the 14th. It is over at that point. Okay, so again, feedback is done as of the 13th, and I'm not going to like continuously engage with people about their essays after the due date. It's due by then. You're a university level student. Whether you can get it done according to that schedule is part of what we are trying to determine when we are taking a university level course. So I know that we will have to talk about it on Monday. We'll introduce Macbeth on Monday in the first half. We'll talk about the essays in the second half. Okay? And on Tuesday it'll be the same. We're gonna do Macbeth in the first half. We'll talk about essays in the second half. After that day, there is no more input from me whatsoever about anybody's essay. Okay, so that's it. So I sometimes people have a tendency to like keep working on this through the week, and they fall behind on Macbeth, and then before they know it, there's a reading quiz on Macbeth that they're not ready for, and all the rest of this stuff. Your essay's due date has been moved back by a couple of days to make up for the fact that I can't be there with you today to go through any feedback with you, but it really doesn't change anything. Okay? So the essay will be due Tuesday, and just remember this is the end of any feedback as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to discuss the essays after the 13th. Okay, so again, if you come to me after the 13th and ask, I'm going to say I'm sorry, but the time is over. It's up to you now. Okay, you had a whole week to talk to me, plus these extra couple of periods. If you couldn't do it then, I don't want to do it after that. Okay, so that's just the way that's going to go. Um, so we'll be ready to start Macbeth on Monday. But again, just to make account for the fact that I did want to be there today and want to give you another chance to talk to me. So let's just change it like so. Okay. So that's how the schedule is going to proceed. I don't think we need to move the reading quiz for Macbeth on the 20th. I think that's probably still the same. It's based on Acts 1 and 2, and I think we'll be finished Act 2 by then, I believe. Okay? So today, we just had a very, very small amount of stuff to cover. I wanted to go over the conclusion with you. I wanted to talk a little bit about the so what paragraph. I'm going to give you a final checklist that I strongly suggest you use before you submit your final copy of your essay. And I also think it's probably not a bad idea to just discuss the rubric. Okay, and maybe this is where we'll start today, just so that we've gone through this. So the rubric is how your essay is going to be scored. Again, your essay is the most important task you're doing. Now, it doesn't count for as much as the exam, but I think it's still more important than the exam. I mean, the exam is, it's we'll prepare for it. We'll make sure we're ready for it. But what you can produce on the exam is far below what I'm expecting you to be able to produce on the essay, right? Because the essay, we've had a lot of time to think about it, a lot of time to make it better, and what we're handing in is our best possible work. How is it going to be marked? 6 points of your essay are going to be marked for MLA format. So the whole essay is out of 60, so just to get that out of the way. 6 points will be for your MLA format. Now, I would suggest you go back to your essay from the beginning of the year, your classification essay, and you go through and you look at the comments one more time. Where did I lose points on MLA the first time around? And let's make sure I don't lose them again. Again, if you prefer, You can download the MLA template, which is a file that's available on our site, and you literally just go here and basically just type over it. Type over, typology in the Kite Runner. And now you've got your essay title. Then you start writing here, and you go down here and you change your last name to, your last name. And that will, that'll be there for you on all the subsequent pages. It's already done, right? If you need a long direct quote, right? I've got the long direct quote for you that you can use. Everything's spaced correctly, everything's set up correctly. Okay? So if you want to ace that MLA section, the MLA format thing is here. There's even a works cited page at the end with some examples of what what yours might look like. I'm expecting yours to be very simple. Remember, the only thing it needs to have is the Kite Runner on it, right? So there you go. That's what I need to write for the Kite Runner. In any case, this is here for you. It seems silly to me that people would risk their marks in MLA format, but they routinely do. So, you decide whether those are 6 points you want to collect or not. For writing process, remember, you're handing in your outline. Obviously, I'm not going to collect it today. I'll collect it next week, so I'll collect it on Monday. I'll make a note of that on the schedule there. We'll just go back here and we'll add that the outline will be due at the end of class on Monday, so I'll give you a little bit more time with that one. And, your outline is a lot of the writing process. I'm also, of course, going to be thinking about times we met and spoke, and I'm going to be looking at your final product. Like, is your final product something where you've tried to get the sentences just right, or is it something where it's been slapped together, in the day before or the 2 days before, and there's all kinds of errors all over the place? In that case, you're looking more in this region, right? Level 1 or level 2 for writing process. Okay, level 3 is you finished your outline and your final paper is in good shape. Level 4 is you finished your outline, your final paper is in excellent shape, and I can see through your signing sheet and through your outline and through your copy and through my conversations with you that your paper has evolved over the course of this process to become something better than what it started as. Now, grammar and mechanics, there's not much to say there. Make sure you proofread your paper. There's no excuse for grammar errors on a major essay. This is something that you should be editing over and over, right, to make sure that it's perfect. Some errors may slip through or whatever, and you're not necessarily going to lose points immediately for that. If you have grammar errors that don't interfere with what you're saying, you're looking at the level 3 or level 4. If you have grammar errors that make what you're saying confusing or hard to follow, you're looking at level 1 or level 2. For clarity and coherence, again, we've talked about this before, but the idea is how much work do I have to do to understand what you're saying? Are you guiding me through, or am I constantly going back and wondering what did they mean, or how does this relate, or did we just change ideas and nobody told me, and that sort of thing. Okay, so it's about the idea of guiding your reader. Paragraph structure is the same sort of thing. A paragraph, remember, is you're guiding me through it. Introduce it. Give some evidence. Explain the evidence. Connect the evidence. Interpret the evidence. Close off your paragraph. Move on to the next idea. It's a guiding process. It's not just throwing down all the information. Guide me through the information. Lead me through it. Objectivity, we've discussed before. You can get a perfect score in objectivity if you avoid saying I, you, or we, if you avoid using contractions, if you avoid using slang, and your evaluative language is not over the top. Okay, so again, rather than use very strong emotional words, consider more neutral, precise words for what you're trying to do here. Finally, style is an element of how you write. So again, you want to make sure that your essay uses a variety of sentence structures. Not every sentence needs to start off with Amir was, Amir was, Amir was. Like, use a variety of structures. Right? We talked about a couple of them already. One of the common ones is an although sentence. Although blank, actually blank, right? You set up something, like you set up a bunch of bowling pins, and then you knock them over, right? And you show that your idea is better than the idea that maybe the reader already had. So use a mix of sentence structures to improve your score when it comes to style. Now, for thinking, there's not much to say about this. Most of the points come from how good your argument is. So, do I agree? Do I think it's supported properly? Do I think you're making logical connections, or do I think you're sort of going off on a tangent? Are you using evidence to support what you're saying, or is what you're saying based on opinion? Again, that ties into the next part here, which is 5 points. Now, these ones are basically, did you get enough quotes, and did you choose appropriate quotes? So again, have you given me the basic quotes that we talked about in class, or have you gone beyond and found some very specific, precise quotes that really work with your topic? Okay, that's the difference here between someone who does a perfect and someone who's in the level 3. Finally, for insight, I made insight only worth 3 because it's a bit of an intangible. It's hard for me to describe what exactly I mean. So I wanted to keep this one to just a small number of marks. But this is a points to be made by those people who can reach a new conclusion from the essay that wasn't immediately obvious from the topic. So again, if you're writing about discrimination against women, I have no doubt that you will make a good argument about the discrimination against women. You will find lots of good evidence in the book about the discrimination against women. But where the best students separate themselves is, can they say something new or insightful or a different perspective on the book, right? Where they've taken what they've learned through the process of the essay and really gotten to a new level, a deeper level of understanding. Again, a lot of people will probably end up in level 1 or level 2 in this area. It's not something you need to sort of be too worried about. It's only worth 3 points, right? It's not the end of the world. But what I'm looking for here is, can you discuss your topic and reach a conclusion that wasn't immediately clear to me when the paper started? Okay, so can your paper basically accomplish something and move towards a conclusion that brings new insight or shines a light on something in the book that wasn't clear? Okay, and that's what this final 3 points is for. So again, maybe those 3 points are ones I might not be able to get, but a lot of these other ones are, right? And if I make sure that I knock the MLA out of the park, I knock the essay writing process out of the park, I make sure my grammar is strong, I go over and edit and make sure that my communication is as strong as I can get it, then even if I don't end up with super marks in thinking, I might still get very good on the overall essay, right? So focus on the areas that you think you can do the best, and then you sort of work on the other areas to the best of your ability. To finish up today, I just wanted to go through with you what is a conclusion, talk a little bit about the so what paragraph, and then discuss a checklist, a final checklist. So a conclusion, in a conclusion, you are trying to very briefly remind the reader of your points, show that you have proven what you set out to prove. You should probably rephrase the thesis. Now, don't repeat the thesis, okay? Don't repeat it word for word. Say it again, but using different words or using a different structure. And then end the essay on some kind of insight or powerful conclusion that the reader can kind of walk away with and go, yeah, that I'm with you. I get that, or I agree. So, let's say my essay was about the Taliban controlling society. And let's say that my thesis said that the Taliban controls society using these 3 means, right? 1, 2, and 3, whatever they were. My conclusion might look something like this. Although the Taliban appear to be a very religious group, whose entire existence is about following the Quran to the letter, this is nothing more than a ruse to control the people. So once again, you see I've used that although structure to set up some bowling pins, and then I've knocked them all over, right? It seems like the Taliban is about religion, but really they are about control. Okay, and that's how I've begun my conclusion. Now I get into repeating my thesis. Now again, I'm not going to say it the exact same way, but I'm going to say, because of point number 1, point number 2, and point number 3, The novel demonstrates that the Taliban are in fact abusing the authority of religion simply to establish their own power and control. So, look, the purple here is very similar to the thesis I wrote at the beginning of the essay, but I'm not going to just repeat it word for word. I'm going to show the reader that I have the skill to rephrase the idea and compose it a little bit differently. Finally, in red, I go to my try and really leave the audience with something strong, right? Something to make an impression on them. This book illustrates a particular vulnerability of people's faith. And then you see I've got a semicolon here, right? Because I've got two ideas that are connected but that are not the same sentence. The book illustrates a particular vulnerability of people's faith, that they turn to God in their times of need and challenge, but that this motivation can be abused and subverted by sufficiently powerful people. See, and this is what I think make the Taliban so bad, right? Is the Taliban's insidious use of people's religious faith against their own freedom is a particularly evil example of taking advantage of the good in ordinary people, right? Now you see what I've done in the end? I've talked about the world, the real world, but I didn't go very far outside the book, right? I'm still really talking about the Taliban in the book. I'm talking a little bit about human nature, but you can see I haven't really gone way off the rails in terms of staying close to the book. And that's the number one mistake people make in the conclusion, okay? They try to bring together some massive insight about our society today and what people need to do today. People need to stop discriminating today. It's like something so obvious doesn't belong in your essay. Yeah, people should stop discriminating. Why don't they? Right? The book is about explaining why don't they? What is the reason why people abuse one another? What is the reason why, the Taliban takes control and turns people's faith against them? I'm not trying to solve the problem. A high school essay that's 800 words long is not going to solve the problem of the Taliban, right? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explore the problem and put it in terms that we can understand, right? Get to a deeper level of understanding about the problem itself. And that's why I think this conclusion is pretty good. It's interesting, but it doesn't really have to, go into today's society or something in order to make it interesting. I keep on my topic of control and human nature and faith and how these three things interact in this story and how they demonstrate the evil, in my opinion, of this group. Okay? And that's what I think your conclusion should do. So in the same way that we talked about the introduction as a funnel, the conclusion is a megaphone, right? It is, you say a small thing at the beginning and you broaden it out into a big thing at the end. So my funnel, right? This is an inverted funnel now, my megaphone, right? I start with a small idea, a specific idea about the Quran, about the Taliban and abusing the Quran. Then I talk about my thesis, and then I broaden it out to a large, big statement about what I think my paper has accomplished. And what I think my paper accomplished here is that, controlling society through people's religion is particularly, depraved, right? Because people turn to God at their weakest and at their most vulnerable. And if you abuse someone's faith in God, you have well and truly done an evil act, right? You have abused someone in their time of need, and then that's hard to think of something worse than that, right? So that's what my conclusion is sort of discussing. Now, we've mentioned a couple of times the idea of a so what, the idea of an insight, the idea of trying to prove something that's beyond what your paper's sort of saying in an obvious way. And it's like I said, try to focus on earning your level 3. Okay? Your level 3 will be earned once you have proven whatever it is you're trying to say. So once I've proven that the Taliban controls society through these three methods, I know I've got my level 3 down on thinking. Okay? If I want to try to get to level 4, right, that's where the so what element comes in. And as I've been saying all along, maybe you need a paragraph, or maybe it's just part of your conclusion. Like maybe in my essay here, maybe my conclusion's enough. Maybe I don't need a so what paragraph in this paper, and that's fine, right? You don't necessarily need it. You got to decide that for yourself. You're trying to prove some sort of point that was not so obvious. I don't think it's obvious in the book that a person's that the Taliban's sort of rise to power is on the back of the people's desperation and desire to turn to God, right? I think that's something I proved in my paper, right, that I think is important. And that's why I think, maybe my paper would do okay on this point about insight. So you're trying to explore the importance of the issue, and you're trying to answer the question, why does it matter? So yeah, the pomegranate tree is a symbol in Kite Runner. It represents A, it represents B, it represents C. So what? What have you shown? What have you done that's meaningful, that matters about what you just said? Why do I have to understand what the pomegranate tree represents in order to understand the book? Now this goes to my final point of the day. You don't need your essay to connect to present day society. You can connect it to human nature, which is fine, but you can also just stay in the world of the book. If you manage to tell me something new about the book, or some insight about how the world in the book works, you've excelled at the paper. You've done an excellent job. You don't have to explain real life in your essay. You just have to explain the book. So I would suggest for 90% of the time, anytime you're thinking about relating what you're saying to modern society or to modern youth or whatever, don't do it. It's not that it's not interesting or not right, it's just that it doesn't belong in this essay, right? It's not what we're doing in this essay. In this essay, we're analyzing the novel. So try to stick to that, okay? Analyze the novel. What did you read? What did you know? And what do you and only you understand about this book that you can share with someone else, right? With me, your reader. When you go to hand in your paper, I suggest you take a quick look at this checklist. It's just a reminder of some of the different things that we need to do. We need to make sure we have a works cited page. Again, as I said yesterday, many people won't bother with a works cited page, and they'll throw away a whole bunch of points on their MLA format because they didn't do it. I don't know why they don't do it, but you should not be one of those people. You should make sure you have a works cited page. You need to have MLA format down. If you can't get MLA format right, use the template, right? The template will help you. And then you can make sure you get your 6 out of 6 for MLA format. You need your quotes referenced correctly. Again, just go earlier in this very PowerPoint and you can see how to quote, right? If you need a long quote, if you need a short quote, how do you do it, right? They're right here in this document. You need 6 pieces of clear evidence, okay? Typically quotes, sometimes you can paraphrase, and that's okay if you want to paraphrase. So paraphrase is when you're talking about something very specific and you want to give a page number, you just don't want to give a quote. So there's no quote that kind of does what you need it to do, but there is a specific event that you want to reference. Okay, that's what paraphrase means. You need to hand in your outline, and let's mention too while we're here, and signing sheet, right? Keep a good record of your signing sheet. Sell yourself a little bit, right? Tell me all the things you did. Don't say worked on my essay. Like, what is that, right? Give me some details of what you accomplished. Try to make it sound like you did a lot. You probably did do a lot, right? It's not cheating. I'm just asking you to be thorough. Go through and make sure you have a variety of sentence structures, right? Really try to push yourself on the writing style. Make sure your details are accurate. Maybe pick another person in the room. Say, I'll read your essay if you'll read mine. Can you point out the 3 weakest areas? What are the 3 weakest areas of my essay so that I can know where to spend my time? And I'll do the same for you. You want to hand in your rough work, which basically is, just your outline and your signing sheet. If you do have a rough copy, you can submit it to the Dropbox, but that's not required. That's optional. So rough copy in Dropbox is optional. I'm not expecting that. If you do have it though, you can submit it. Again, I would get a friend to read mine and I would read theirs, and if any of the ideas are hard to follow, I would let them know. Okay? And then of course lastly, we have the grammar. So for today, right, you've got the rest of the day, it's another 45 minutes. Let's work on this paper. Let's try to, keep getting our quotes, keep getting the way things are related, and remember, we will get a chance to discuss together on Monday as well as Tuesday before you're handing it in later that night on Tuesday. Okay? Make sure you use your time wisely, and I will see you next week.